Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our webinar session, Data Management in Salesforce, Deduplication Strategies for NPSP and NPC. While that is the focus of today's session, please keep in mind that the strategies we'll show you today can be applied to any Salesforce cloud or environment. So rest assured, if you're using Apsona in Education Cloud, Sales Service Cloud, etc., you can apply these to your own org. Before we dive in, we are recording today's webinar and we'll send it out with the follow-up. And of course, we love questions. So feel free to put any questions in the chat or the Q&A, and we'll have some time at the end to provide answers. Let's dive right in. Here's a brief overview of Apsona. Apsona has been a trusted solution in the Salesforce ecosystem for over 13 years, serving organizations of all sizes and across multiple different industries. Apsona is really designed to complement Salesforce's existing functionality, enhance your productivity, and streamline your workflows, enabling users to make data-driven decisions. Our mission is to always empower users by giving them complete control over their data, all from one intuitive platform. A bit about us, the speakers. Before we dive in, I am Aaliyah Walker, communication specialist at Apsona. I've been here for about 2 years. I think around this time is like my work anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. I am responsible for communicating to our customers and partners the value of Apsona, creating content and setting up events like this one. You'll also find me managing newsletters and growing our presence across socials. I'll pass it to Lori to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. Aside from being a geography fan, as I said earlier, and ooh, shout out to whoever's in Kenya. Wow, it's like nighttime there, right? Anyway, sorry, I digress. Solution engineer here at Apsona. I've been at Apsona a little over a year and have been working with the product for I think 8 or 9 years now. I probably, like many of you, found myself at an organization that made the decision to migrate to Salesforce and very quickly became a super fan of Apsona, and thus here I am.
So let's talk about why clean data even matters. But we all do know that clean data is essential for effective fundraising and program delivery. But in Salesforce orgs where small or medium teams juggle multiple roles or complex data models, it's even more critical. So let's look at the real world consequences of dirty data. There is wasted outreach where you might end up emailing the same person twice or missing them entirely, confused donor journeys where donor histories are inconsistent or missing. And then there is broken reporting, inaccurate data leading to faulty reports, making it difficult to make decisions or demonstrate your impact. These issues often stem from common challenges like multiple data sources, creating inconsistent or duplicate entries, staff turnover, leading to varied data entry habits, and limited time and tools, making it tough to prioritize cleanup. For users of NPSP or NPC, these challenges can escalate, resulting in things like misattributed pledge payments, duplicate households missing engagement touch points. So clean data isn't just nice to have, it's foundational to mission success. Now I'll talk a little bit about how Apsona can help your team get ahead of those challenges. Apsona is designed to support organizations of all sizes, whether you're small or medium, trying to stay organized or managing complex data flows. We've really structured Apsona bundles to match your needs as you grow. I'll just kind of talk through these quickly. The Essentials is perfect for smaller teams, typically 3 to 9 users who need those core data management features. Advanced is geared towards mid-sized teams managing larger data sets. It includes everything in Essentials and automation to help save time and reduce manual effort for document merge and reporting. And for our larger enterprise level orgs, the premium bundle offers expanded support for teams of 50 plus users, ideal for handling high volume data workflows across multiple departments. When it comes to the different license types, we offer two. There's a standard license, which provides full access to features, which is great for admins, data managers, or operation staff who are hands-on in your org's data. We also offer the specialized license. These are your view-only or action-based licenses, perfect for users like volunteers or staff who just need to run a document merge or pull a report, but don't necessarily need to edit records. And
All right.
it's Lori.
Thanks, Aaliyah. So a couple of things before I jump into the demo that I just wanted to mention. Although, like Aaliyah had mentioned earlier, we're focusing on the NPC and NPSP data models for this particular webinar, but the concepts can be applied in any data model. But I do want to kind of reference a couple of kind of gotchas in both of those data models. So in the nonprofit cloud, and actually this applies to Education Cloud if any of you are using that too, the whole person account and the related persons and contacts and accounts, that whole structure can be confusing. From a deduplicating perspective, it's actually a little bit easier. And what I mean is if we're talking about duplicate people in the NPC person account model, the account and the contact are kind of the same thing. So when you find and merge duplicate accounts, the contact record also gets merged. In NPSP, on the other hand, contacts and accounts are two really separate things. So depending on your settings, there's definitely some caveats here. If you identify two duplicate contacts, each who have their own account, either when the contacts are merged, the two households both contain the one same merged contact, or you end up with an orphaned, like anonymous account. And again, that kind of depends on your settings. So what you'd have to do is merge both the account and contact. What we typically recommend is merging first the accounts and then the contacts. So just wanted to kind of point that out as we look at both of those data models. And I am going to steal screen sharing from you now. Can I do that? Is it going to let me? Oh, I didn't even have to. Let's see. Hang on. I got to move you guys out of the way because you don't want to see yourselves, I'm sure. So now, oh, wait, hold on. I think, no, I'll share this one. Sorry, technical difficulties. Bear with me, everyone. My screen is like presenting too big. Hang on. Okay. Share. Okay. Is everyone seeing my screen?
It is still loading for me.
Okay, and I think I have to
Continue.
move.
Can I tell you this comment?
Stuff.
Lori?
I'm sorry, yes?
Can I tell you this comment?
Yes.
Anita says, I have yet to figure out how to merge an account in NPSP, so I keep having to delete those annoying little anonymous accounts you mentioned.
Oh, yeah, the anonymous one. And honestly, I'm not 100% sure which NPSP setting it is that makes that not happen. But however our NPSP org is configured, what I end up with is two accounts that have the same one merged contact, unless I merge the accounts first. Then the one account has two contacts in it, and then I merge the contacts. So that's how we typically recommend in NPSP, is merge the account first. It's tricky. Anyway, so here I am in Apsona, assuming that you guys are seeing this. This is actually an NPC org that I'm looking at. So Whether I choose to merge contacts or accounts, like I was saying before, in the NPC model, it kind of doesn't matter. It's like they automatically sync up. However, I did want to point out a couple of other pieces of functionality that are part of the Apsona dedupe tool. So if you have never seen Apsona before, just super quickly, Apsona is accessed as a tab like you would other Salesforce features or objects. Once you're in Apsona, you're going to see another series of tabs. These are objects that you have access to. Some are Apsona specific menus, and this is all very configurable. What I'm looking at right now, I'm on the contacts objects. I've chosen tabular view, which is kind of a spreadsheet-like view of your data, where I have all kinds of capabilities as far as editing data, inserting data, mass updates, importing data, and of course, launching into our dedupe tool. So this can be applied on any object, including custom objects. So it's not just for people and accounts. You can deduplicate, is that a word? Deduplicate any kind of object record. So, and you can see there's two options when I select dedupe/match. There's dedupe, which launches into our dedupe action building tool. And then there's match CSV. And I'm going to show you what match CSV does. I'm going to show you both of them, but just so you can see match CSV, what this allows you to do is select a file that you may or may not have existing records in your system. I select the file, it gives me a little preview of what those records look like. I have the option of applying a saved action, which I guess I did not save the action. I thought I did. So I would click next if I didn't have a saved action. And now here is where I specify from the fields that I have included in that file what should be my match, how should it determine if there is a match in the system. So I want first name, let's say I'm going to keep it super simple. I want to just match on first name and last name, and we'll say email address. We do Apsona's dedupe tools, both in the match CSV and the dedupe wizard, have this pre-built selection of methods that can be added. Some of them are kind of obvious, some of them not so much. There is an explanation of each of these, including examples in our documentation. So if you need to see exactly what the match functions do, I would definitely recommend checking our documentation. You also have the option of matching fuzzy or exact. You can ignore word order. Sometimes that's useful with street addresses or company names. Once I've established which fields I want to use for matching, it's now asking me, in addition to those matched fields, what other fields do you want to see in your output? So maybe I want to see some address details. I'll just say mailing. So we'll keep this simple for now. I don't even remember if I had that in my original. And something else to point out, if you're not familiar with Apsona, whenever you're using any particular object, in this case, remember we started with contact, I have access to other objects that the starting object has a one-to-one relationship with. So if I wanted to also bring in the account name from the account object, I can do that too. I click next. Then it's asking me, how do I want to filter the records that I'm going to compare against? So maybe I would say I want only, let's say, account or contacts where the record type of the account is a person account. Once I've established whatever filters I need, I click finish. Oh, if I had clicked save that action, then I would see it next time, so I wouldn't have to rebuild the mapping next time. Once it's done, I'm going to click download results, and basically what it spits out to me, hopefully it'll open, where did it go? What it shows me, oh, good, is actually basically the file that I started with. And if there are any matching contacts, it would show me that information too. And it's not giving me any. That's disappointing. Well, that's what happens in webinars. But if there was matching information, you would see those columns filled in. It's really useful for knowing where, if you have a file that you might need to import, you now know which ones already exist in the system. So I mentioned the other tool was our dedupe action. So I've gone to the accounts object, select here, I'll just go back, tabular view. I go to the tools menu, dedupe, and I see I've already got a couple actions created. And just something that we typically recommend at Apsona is you'd have more than one dedupe action for the same object, where you might have a really strict criteria, matching criteria, where you're matching on like first name, last name, email address, where if you find a match, you're pretty darn sure that it is truly a duplicate and you can just quickly and easily merge those records. And then a looser matching criteria where you might need human eyes on these records to further analyze to determine if they truly are duplicates. And although we have just two created here, in reality, you'd probably have, possibly even more than that. So I'm just going to open up this existing one to show you. It's the options that I set up are very similar to the match CSV, where first I'm specifying and whatever my filter criteria. Do you want to search every single account record, or is there some subset of records you're searching? On the second tab, here is where I am specifying which fields I'm going to match on. And again, those same match functions, the same contraction options and word order. On additional fields, again, this is where I'm including additional fields that I want to see in my output. Group selection would allow me to show only groups that have a certain number of matches. And additionally, I can limit my results not only by the filter I've applied here. This filter applies to all the records that are being searched. On group selection, I can add a filter here that would mean that at least one of the records has to also meet this other criteria. I find this is really useful when the source of duplicate records is sometimes like a third party or external system for maybe like donation processing or event registrations, where you can easily apply a filter that says at least one of the records has to come from this source. That way, okay, here's all the event registrants, here's the matching existing contact record that didn't get found when the record was created. And then master and field rules. The master rules establish which one of the potential duplicates is the record we're going to keep. This is the one that is the master record that will stay. Other records will get merged into the master. There's also some options for overriding specific fields or combining data. So when I click Save and Find, it applies all of those rules, searches through all of my account records, and in this case, it has come up with 2 results. So I could, again, this is my strictest match, so I might just click the Merge All button. I'm pretty darn sure these are duplicate records. They have the same email address, the same name, and the same address. But if I wasn't sure and I wanted to compare them a little more thoroughly beyond just the fields that I've added, I can click this little conjoined arrow, and that shows me everything side by side. I can choose to see every single field, or if I want to only view the values that are mismatched, then I can actually pick and choose from each side which record I want to keep, then click merge. It kind of creates just like your own custom merge, and those records would be combined. You gotta love demo data. You just never know what's going to happen. Looks like it did actually combine the records. I'm not sure what the error was all about. Something else I just wanted to point out while we're here is it has chosen the master record based on the rules that I established, right? But if as I'm reviewing the data, I decide that, oh, you know what, this Megan Douglas should really be the master, I can simply click on that row, and now Megan is the master. I know that she's the master because of this checkbox, and her record is bold. I also have the ability to export either just the data that I see in the grid, that the columns that I've selected, or all the data, meaning all the contact fields. It's a great way to keep like a backup, definitely something we recommend. Although, as you may or may not know, once those records are merged, if I wanted to restore a record, I can find them in my recycle bin. Okay, I also wanted to point out a couple other functions that are related to keeping data clean that are part of the dedupe and match tools, and that is a cleansing function. So as I mentioned before, and now again, I'm now actually in an NPSP org. I'm looking at my list of contacts. From the tools menu, I have a whole bunch of mechanisms to update data. I can use the import update tool. I can update all, which would update all. In this case, I'm filtered. I've got like 76 records. I can mass update all of those. I also, again, if I have permission, I can click into any of these fields and manually fix them. There's also some pre-built data cleansing functions that I'll see in update all. And let me also just point out too, what I'm looking for here is I noticed that we've got some data inconsistencies. So I want to consistentize, we're going to use that as a word. I want to make my state data consistent. So I noticed that California has some interesting values. They all should be, according to our internal data standards, they should all be the abbreviated state, the state abbreviation. So I could just click into each of these and backspace and fix it, or I could check each of the ones that are not correct, click the check boxes, and then when I go to the tools menu, sorry, I'm experiencing a little lag. Maybe I should turn my camera off. Sometimes that helps. Sorry, I'm going to do that. It's not audio. Turn my audio off. That's not helpful. Now from the tools menu, I see update checked rather than update all. But what else I can do from either option is there's many ways that we can update data. I can select a field, enter a specific value. I can even build an expression, a formula. I can apply JavaScript methods here for updating a data. But I also have this cleansing option where I choose the field, and there's some pre-built data cleansing that can make your phone numbers consistent, proper case and name, zip code fixes, sometimes the preceding zeros get left off, or US state. So when I do that, I click update. It does its thing. Oh, I have unsaved changes. That one probably errored, but now if I close out of this, I can see that all of my states, as I scroll through that list, should be fixed. Oop, I saw one that wasn't. We can go back and look at that. Aaliyah, were there any questions? I know I saw that it looked like there was a lot of chat activity.
Yes, yes.
I'm going to stop.
I always get errors when merging opportunities and the records are not merged. Are there any limitations or things to look at when merging opportunities?
I guess my first question to your question would be, what are the errors that you're seeing? Usually they're pretty descriptive as to what the problem might be. It's often related to a trigger on a child record. I feel like that sometimes is, it can be the culprit when merging records. So that might be something you can disable a trigger before merging. You know, it's a little bit of a pain.
I'll wait for a response. Next one looks like there is an option in NPSP to merge contacts that allow you to choose which account to keep as the master so that you end up with only one account in the merge process. Is this not an option in Apsona?
If you are merging contacts, again, it might do that same thing in Apsona. My understanding is that Apsona respects the settings that you've defined in NPSP. So if that's a setting that you've created, then Apsona should follow the same. I don't know if you noticed, there was that option to use Salesforce API. It was like a little checkbox. We recommend keeping that checked all the time, so that for just that reason, it will do the same thing that Salesforce would do.
Any more questions?
Do you want to go back to do you want me to share the rest of the presentation, or do you want to?
I can.
Okay.
If I can get to it. Okay, there we go.
I did want to mention just a couple other things just related to data management. I'll go through this kind of quickly. I know we've only got a couple of minutes, but one, scheduling regular reviews. Deduping once is great, but building long-term data health into your workflow, that's where you're going to see real results. And also just a takeaway from a recent Salesforce Data Cloud workshop that I attended. Not all duplicates are bad. And what I mean by that is some are intentional. And an example I can think of is when, you know, maybe staff in one department shouldn't have access to the full details of a record. For example, you've got an organizational contact for purposes of billing, but that same person is also maybe a donor or a participant in one of your programs. And perhaps your accounting staff shouldn't be privy to program participant data. So you might really truly want those to be completely separate contact records, or like anonymous records for donations and things like that. Standardize your data entry. If you don't already have a data governance committee or any kind of official data standard guidelines or documentation, it's definitely worthwhile to spend the time to define your processes and requirements. This can really reduce the need for a lot of data cleanup efforts. It can make data entry obviously more consistent, and it's also helpful for training new staff. Role-based data access, I feel like this kind of goes without saying, to make sure that your users have access to only the data and the capabilities that they truly need for their jobs. It can be really critical for data quality, because it can be a nightmare to try to track down and correct unauthorized changes. And then training and empowering your users. Make sure those data entry standards are understood by all the relevant stakeholders. I would also suggest integrity reports that can catch common errors, which, using Apsona, those reports can be automatically emailed to the right staff to make those corrections. And then on a kind of a somewhat related side note, Aaliyah mentioned earlier our different bundles. Any of our customers who purchase a bundle get invited to our monthly workshops, where you can learn different functionality. We have different topics each month. You can attend as many workshops as you want. And that, I think, we're just a minute over. Sorry, everyone.
Thank you everyone for joining. And Nina and Crystal, if you want to stay to get your questions answered, I'm happy to answer those really quickly.